as we've all talked about today, how do we use technology to our benefit, try and get the best possible pieces out of it that we can, and try and not lose our humanity in the process and our connection to other people, and just be mindful of continuing to do that.
Illuminance specializes in developing sensory processing sensitivity, a natural high sensory intelligence present in 30% of the population, co-creating with the power of humanity to consciously evolve towards balance. This session features trained high sensory coaches, facilitators and consultants who coach other high sensory people and partner with organizations globally. To contact them directly or to find out about our programs, please see the details in the description.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stacey Ingram, and I am here with a group of coaches. We're going to have an awesome conversation today, and we're going to talk about artificial intelligence and how that affects our world, how we see it coming, how it affects HSPs in particular, and what to look for as we kind of navigate this space. So I'm going to go ahead and go around the room. I'll start first. My name is Stacey Ingram, and I am a coach, and I work a lot on personal development, specifically with women and HSPs. I, of course, work with others as well, but that's my primary target. And I have a women-based methodology, so we can really get at kind of our core and what's holding us back. And then next, we have Gracie.
Hi there, I'm Gracie King. I live near Washington, D.C. in the U.S., and I'm a positive psychology wellness coach specializing in helping HSPs overcome depression and exhaustion. My website is vibranthsp.com, and I look forward to talking more about our topic today.
All right, Bonnie.
My name is Bonnie Snyder. I'm so glad to be here today. My website is Diamond Pathways. I'm a life balance intuitive coach with an energy psychology diplomat. I work with women, a lot of highly sensitive women, to release those limiting beliefs and find their personal magic and own their gifts.
And great. How about Kara?
Hey there, I'm Kara Menz from Minnesota, southwest of the state, and I support professional burnt out women who are wanting to shift into the power that lights them up. And I use this awesome approach called my epic approach. My website is caramenz.com, C-A-R-A menz, M-E-N-Z.com. I'm happy to be here today.
And Lisa, how about you?
Hi, my name is Lisa Morrison, and I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia, up in Canada. And I'm still trying to refine my niche. So right now I'm just doing general coaching with high sensory people.
Great. Okay, so we have a very meaty topic today. I guess I didn't say where I was from, but I'm from Colorado in the US. And today we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. And so as we learn more about this and what's kind of coming our way, it's awesome and really scary all at the same time. I mean, a lot of the things that you read and look at out there really believe that in the next 5 to 10 years, that most of us will be doing our jobs with an AI assistant of some sort, and that the workforce will be really changing and really the focus, because there'll be so many different things that AI can do. And so how do humans and AI work together in things like healthcare, in coaching, in human resources, in trying to make mundane tasks quicker? And I'll give you an example. An example that was shown to me is someone that had to pull 500 podcasts and put them in alphabetical order, and they needed to do it by a certain amount of time. And the steps it took for each podcast was about 4 to 5 steps to be able to pull it. A small kind of prompt with an AI tool allowed them to do it in 10 minutes. And so some of these things can happen so quickly, which is a great thing. I think for us as HSPs, learning how we work with this technology can be a little bit tricky. So I have some ideas about that, but as a group, I'm going to have everyone talk a little bit about, what your exposure has been to AI and how you sort of see it affecting either your life or your clients' lives.
Oh, Gracie, you did such a great introduction to that. I think for me too, it's the same piece. It's exciting, just like you described. Those are tasks that would be a nightmare for me. And then I'd have to pay someone a lot of money because it would take a lot of time to do that. So to me, that was a perfect example of how awesome AI can be. But it's all, and that's the exciting part to me. And medically too. Wow, what are some of the things that are going to happen with AI? I'm in a WhatsApp group who started by talking about us moving into AI. And I haven't spent a lot of time. I've used the CPT chat.
Chat GPT.
Yes, once. And it was okay. Actually, my own search was a little better. And perplexity, I think, is another one that they're talking about. So it's nice to see on a business end what they're doing. So I was speaking to someone that I'm working with. It's another coach, and we were talking about keeping that human part in. So she was saying, well, I'll use it for my website, but as far as some of these things that I'm writing, I want to do that myself. So some of my concern, and I voiced it in our group, was we've been training AI for years, is what I've heard. And maybe we didn't know it, but it's how we move forward and what we allow and what we stand up and say we're not for this, I think, is how it will move forward. And it's going to move forward with or without us, but we are important in how this moves forward. So I think the part that concerns me, and I don't know how to deal with this. So one of the women wrote up about her business and her personality. And what she wrote was really good. And then she had AI do it, and it was awesome. But if some of our concern is that there may be avatars of each of us, and it will be difficult to discern who's human, or organic, which we're human, or inorganic, not human. So that's a bit of a concern I have. So for me, it's balancing where is it that will be supportive and helpful? How can I choose intelligently as a sensitive person who some of these regular tasks I don't have an issue with, but how much information do we give? So I don't know what anyone else thinks. The two I posted in our group, the book and the two podcasts that I listened to. And it was really interesting to listen to some of the people in these fields who've been working at this for a long time.
Yes, it absolutely is. I mean, also, I think that, it's in our daily lives from a standpoint of, like, right now, there's, striking in Hollywood with actors and things like that. And at first I'm like, why like, they make tons of money, like, what's the problem here? And obviously there's always parts of different productions that aren't run the way they should be. However, what I didn't realize is what their huge issue was really that with AI now, it's pretty easy to take your image and your likeness and your voice, and you can voice clone someone. You can also, get AI to know how they move, how they do different things. And with a certain amount of images and a certain number of voice files, they can basically make it look like you're in the movie that you were not in. And so being able to be paid for that, those rights and that likeness, which again comes back to it can be scary or cool, depending on which direction you look at that. But I think they're trying to do what you're saying, is trying to decide, like, what are we going to stand for? What is okay? And how do we use AI and work with AI with these big production studios? And so that's like a real life thing that we're seeing kind of play out right now.
Yeah, this is definitely new territory for us, and there's no blueprint for this because it's something that we've never experienced in our lives. And so, like with anything new, there's going to be some turmoil at the beginning. There's going to be two sides with the advantages and the disadvantages of it, and it's going to take some time for that to play out.
I also think I've been using it for like an assistant, and that's one thing as an HSP owning my own business. finding an assistant who I would have to tell everything to anyway on what I need, and then really proofread it to hear if it's me or what it's like or whatever. I love ChatGPT for podcast ideas and using the 80-20 rule, like typing that in. Gary Vaynerchuk has some really, he's way ahead of his time, and he has great tips on just simple things you can use it for positively in your business. And I think if we focus on what we need and not worry about all the other problems it could cause in the world, and just be kind to ourselves and say, I can use it for this. I don't need to worry about everything else and how it could affect, as our HSP bodies can really tune into the negativity of things. I think we really have to stand firm and say, if I'm using it positively and I share how I'm using it positively, I think we just surround ourselves with that type of things and let other people worry about their thing with it, in your industry or whatever. So like podcast titles, I love going through and going like, do an about page of, and I put in my own website, so it reads it and it just kind of shifts it a little bit, because I think my thing is having words to say exactly how I feel. I don't have them all the time. So it's been helping me kind of come up with that, and just a format, a schedule for a podcast, or just topics, because it knows everything everybody's talking about. So when we talk about how are people saying things, how are they typing it into the search, it's got it for us. So we don't even have to think about that anymore. We have to just say, tell me the top, 10 concerns people have about, like for me, like quitting drinking. And boom, it's got it for it, instead of me trying to half a day figuring it out. I mean, I kind of know, but so using it for the better, I think it's going to be great. And it's inexpensive, it's cheap, it's free right now. So I'm kind of using it as my little assistant right now.
Kara, what you said just totally resonates with me, because I have a lot of trouble finding my words too. Like getting started is often the hardest part of, whatever it is that I'm doing. So I've been practicing asking Chat GPT some questions about something that I'm thinking about, but I can't really articulate well. And I'm like telling Chat GPT, how would you discuss such and such topic in a way that is professional, humorous, and intelligent, whatever qualities it is that I want to end up with in my writing. And it cranks out stuff. And I look at it as kind of a first draft to things. And, if I don't like parts of it, then I just, cross that out. But at least it gives me something to start with. And I found that really helpful.
No, it is. And I mean, I think the one thing to remember with chat is that it's iterative. So if you are in the same thread, it learns as you give it information, and it will continue to learn in that thread. If you start a new thread, then sometimes you have to start again. But also it can be used with other forms of AI. And I didn't think about that in the beginning when I started using it. But I'll give you an example. Is like, if you are using an app or an AI tool that allows you to create images, in chat, you can say, pretend you're a world-class art director, pretend you're a world-class photographer. What would the camera be that you would use? What would the types of settings be that you would use? And it will give you a prompt, basically, that you can then put into another AI tool in order to create something. So I think for all of us, figuring out how to use the different AI tools collectively will make it more powerful for everyone. And I'm sure as AI grows, that will become simpler. I mean, more people will understand how the tools intersect.
Yeah, my partner is neurodivergent. He's high functioning autistic, and he has a very imaginative mind, and he's always telling me about his dreams and things. So he's a mechanical engineer, so he's not working in a creative industry at all, and he doesn't know how to use any kind of Photoshop things or whatever. But for him to be able to describe what his vision is in his mind and put it in there and have an image rendered is really exciting for him. Really exciting. And it's just something that he wouldn't be able to bring to fruition without this technology right now. And he's actually opened up a small retail shop, online, and some people have bought his images as stickers and t-shirts and things like that. So I've seen that have a really positive effect for him, and something that he's doing on the side of his very demanding job that's bringing him a lot of joy and enjoyment. So I like it for that.
Yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
I love that, Lisa. That is so awesome. And I want to sort of track back a little to Kara and to Gracie. I do like, thank you, Kara, for that focus on the business, because, and this sometimes might be a little, and maybe we can talk about it. It's that balance between, I wait for the inspiration. I don't always have the perfect words, and sometimes I feel like it's my language. So I enjoy that creative piece. And when I'm in the flow, it comes out. But I do have someone edit because my grammar isn't perfect, and I could use AI for that. So I appreciate that. And Gracie, I appreciated the way your thought about how to start, because sometimes I am stuck and then I need to do something. So it is a little bit of that balance for me, is where do I keep my creativity with it without becoming, totally dependent. And I think that is probably going to be a concern for all of us, as where is the human, as I had said. But look at, Lisa, what your significant other had. So where's the balance with that, I guess? And Kara, I think you're right, because we are highly sensory and sensitive to what's going on, to stay focused on that business part and not to worry. I absolutely agree with you. But I do think we have to pay attention, because I voiced some of these concerns in the group, and it was all business. We'll go, go, go. And then a couple of people started popping up with concerns. And I don't know if you saw Google's latest terms of agreement. Have you seen them? It's that anything you wrote and that was out on the internet, they can take for their AI. So there's no privacy and there's no copyright, if that's indeed the case. So I don't know what to do with that. It brought up a yellow flag for me, thinking about it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's hard. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering, like, if we look at this from an old school perspective, like, when I was writing a paper in university, I would have to read a whole bunch of other people's words that they published publicly in books, and then put all these ideas together and spend many hours and days doing this. Mind you, I was having to reference where I was getting ideas, but in the end, I was taking information from a whole bunch of different people and putting them together to create something from my perspective. And it seems like this is very, very similar, just automated.
And some colleges and schools are looking at exactly what you're saying, is instead of sort of trying to figure out if it was AI or any of that, just assuming it could be, it couldn't be, but having the person basically has to list out the prompts that they were giving it, how you are building on information, so that they can see sort of the human piece of the work and what you were able to do. And I think that's an interesting conversation, but it's a way for educators to sort of embrace it, but yet not get away from like holding us accountable in some way to what the work is.
That's cool. I really like that, that whole idea of being able to have some accountability. And we know AI, especially in the beginning, but I would imagine it will continue. It's like a spider. So we have to have some idea or double check with AI, because it isn't always going to bring us correct information either.
No, for sure. It could spread misinformation very quickly, which is definitely one of the risks.
Yeah.
Well, what is AI without humans? It's using the information we put out there, right? But at some point, is it going to be reusing its information that it's generated?
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, they do truly believe that the AI won't need us, basically.
Right. Its IQ is 150 right now as we speak. And that's not from me. That was from an expert. I don't know if that's true.
I
but
heard
it's-
something very similar.
So,
So if
Yeah.
we could use it for like prompts, like topics we want to talk about, can you clarify this one fact? Really generate questions for us if we want to generate a podcast questions. I mean, I think, and even like an email to be on somebody's podcast, that was new for me. So I'm like, can you generate a generic email for me? And like, I don't know what needs, and I did it a few times to see different prompts, what it would do for me. And really don't entrust it with too much. Don't entrust it with too much. Proofread, do all that stuff. And I think it's just a great idea starter. I love that, Gracie, you said that, it gets me going in the business where you're sometimes just stuck.
Have you been using it for anything else, Gracie, or any other tools besides chat?
I did use it to generate some ideas for a resume and cover letter. I copied and pasted a job description into it, and I asked it really nicely. I said, could you please help me get started with, a tailored resume to, emphasize how my strengths and experience would be a great fit for this job. And it mirrored back to me several of the things that I said, but it also added some other pieces that made it feel like it was a genuine person listening to me and understanding me. So that was kind of neat. But anyway, I pasted the job description in, and then immediately it came back with a first draft, like a fill in the blank kind of template for both a resume and a cover letter. And I hadn't even copied and pasted my current resume into it yet. So I went ahead and I said, oh, that's great. That's a great starter. Could I paste in my resume now and then have you help me find the areas that are common between the job description and my resume and have you highlight those for me? Yes, I'd be glad to help you with that. So I'm like, oh, GTP, you're just a swell pal.
highly sensitive.
So I did that, and it came back with several paragraphs that had like a headline for each of all the areas of commonality between my resume and the job description. And I read through it and I was like, wow, this is really helpful, because it wasn't just regurgitating some of the terminology and phrases that were already provided to it, but it was tying things together and using, bringing in some new ideas. And I was like, oh, that's a great point. I love that. So I was sure to, at the very end, to thank ChatGPT, saying, I think this is great. It's given me a very helpful start, and I really appreciate your help. Because I'm thinking in the back of my mind that this AI is learning from every interaction that it has with humans about what humans are like and how humans should act. And it's learning from us to model that. So I'm thinking, okay, well, the nicer I can be to ChatGPT, then hopefully that'll just count towards the positive balance and make it more benevolent than not.
That's a really good point. I know the people that you listen to that are more on the, I wouldn't say afraid of, but very tech end of things. They joke around about the fact of, well, maybe if AI is going to get rid of humans, if I'm nice to it, it'll get rid of me last. So it's just kind of funny. But when you were talking about it, almost being like a friend, sort of, there, I was trying to look up some HSP specific AI tools based on this conversation. And one of the ones was actually a chat bot. And I guess that it's called, let's see, Replika, like REPLIKA. And it's supposed to be like an AI companion that basically is sort of like talking to an empathetic friend. And so you always have this kind of empathetic friend. They're giving you advice or talking back to you, which was kind of fun. And then there's also an app called Mood Path. And let's see what it's saying. It suggests new behaviors and ways to react to things. And it's supposed to be kind of interacting with HSPs from the standpoint of, if we have really deep sensory feelings about something or an experience, and it kind of tells you how to sort of tame that down, I guess, or I haven't used it myself, but I thought it was a pretty interesting concept that there are specific AI tools and apps right now that are out there, just for high sensory trait people.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
I love that. Thank you so much, Stacy, for sharing that. I wouldn't have even thought to look for that. And Gracie, thank you so much, because that's what I felt listening to both of those podcasts, was that the more we can interact in a way that is human, because we do have those emotions, and as HSPs, ours are even, I think, tuned more finely, so we're more aware, like that you even thought about the idea of being your natural self, Gracie, with AI. That's how you would be with anyone, but just thinking about that. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Both of those, Stacy and Gracie, were great tips for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, and when Gracie was talking about, putting your resume together, it made me think of an experience that I had a couple of years ago, because I was doing a resume on one hand, and I was also doing a business proposal. And in both cases, I partnered with two colleagues who are also friends. And, I spent the day with each of them because they helped me. They helped me find the wording that I needed for the business proposal, because there's certain words in that industry that need to be used in order, for them to accept it. And I did feel a little sad that that this may take that away, that it's just would be something so easy to turn to, and that may take that away for future generations who become really dependent on it, of having that experience I had, like spending a full day and bonding and being helped by another woman. And that just came to mind. So it was a bit of some conflicting emotions while Gracie was talking about her experience.
I think that's my concern too, Lisa, is that those interactions will become so dependent that we won't do the human interaction that you're talking about. And not that you couldn't partner with AI along with the human interaction and the human connection. But yeah, when you watch the generations below us, and even these very, very young children that are so used to the technology, and we know there have been studies on how separating it is and isolating it is to stay connected to that technology and lose that human part. So I think you brought up a good point, that for us to be thinking about that. I know for myself, even right now, we moved from Orlando over to the coast, and I've lived in Florida since I was 22. So my whole adult life, and never, because my children are grown, I don't have any animals, do we meet as much community. And I think with what's gone on in the past 4 years there, we all sort of backed up a lot. So I'm curious about how this might affect the isolation, the increase in suicides, and how we could use it in a way that maybe might increase human interaction and connection.
I'm thinking of it on that end, Bonnie and Lisa. I totally understand your concerns. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is, as HSPs, personally, decision making, like, should I do this? Should I say this? And I ruminate in my own brain forever. And ChatGPT just quickly helped me narrow focus, get it done. Here's what you could do and write, and it sounded great. And then I got to spend an evening with my friends. I kind of, a lot of us are sitting here ruminating, struggling in the entrepreneurial world. And I just talked to my son about this, and he quit his job after just graduating from college 2 years ago. He needs to create and start his own business. And he said, the Great Resignation is still happening.
Mm-hmm.
Many people that aren't entrepreneurial spirits that are going into the entrepreneurial world.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to need our guidance for that of which comes natural to some of us being an entrepreneur. And they're going to be needing help. Lots of help, more than some, like right now it's like the driven people are doing it. But now these people that are a little more nervous still did it because they're wanting to start their own stuff. But I think that ChatGPT could really help these new business owners on a low income start get that stuff going on that end. So I'm just really minimally thinking of it solely as a little entrepreneurial business helper and then not thinking about the other stuff. But
yes. So I think, I think the message to parents of the younger generations right now would just to be aware of this and to cultivate, presence with your children and ensuring that they're interacting and socializing and engaging with humans and not walking down the street with their heads in their phones all the time.
Yeah, not just children.
Yes, right. Not just children, but
just children.
Yeah.
Our grandchildren's lives, if we have them, are going to be so much different than our own. And, I think it's sort of like our parents when they said, oh, I had to walk, 2 miles uphill in the snow. And I feel some days when I'm talking to my kids, I kind of feel like that. I'm like, we had to figure out our own directions. Oh, my car broke down. Well, I have to walk, like, and I catch myself feeling like I'm saying I'm walking uphill in the snow. And so I guess it's something to always just remind ourselves of, as we've all talked about today, how do we use technology to our benefit, try and get the best possible pieces out of it that we can, and try and not lose our humanity in the process and our connection to other people, and just be mindful of continuing to do that. So, well, it's great to talk to everybody today. And I am just going to end our session right now.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you,
Bye.
Steve.
Thank you, Stacy. That was a great wrap up. Bye,
Yes.
everybody.